What is the big deal about alcohol? It's a good question, one we're thinking about. Why don't you take a couple minutes and let's talk about it. In college, there's probably few things that people talk more about, few things that people do more about than alcohol. It's a big part of college life. What's a Catholic Christian to think about alcohol? Well, as Catholic Christians, we are allowed to use alcohol as long as we're 21, at least here in the United States. Now, there's no divine law in the scriptures that tell us that you can't drink until you're 21, but the scriptures do tell us that we should obey legitimate authorities, and so the law around us tells us don't drink till you're 21, and so as Christians, you should obey that law. Otherwise, it would be a sin of rebellion, and rebellion is not good. Rebellion puts you in the camp of Satan, the fallen angels, and their own rebellion against the authority and law of God. Even if it is just a human law, just not a good crowd to be in. All right, let's say you're 21. How should you drink? You should drink well. What do I mean by saying drinking well? Well, mainly, you should avoid drunkenness. Drunkenness in the scriptures is always a sin. Always a sin. Drunkenness is a sin. Now, when I describe why drunkenness is a sin, I want to take a little side note and talk about what drunkenness is. We're very good at talking about how buzz driving is drunk driving. Now, being buzzed is not necessarily being drunk. Being drunk is when we're starting to lose control of our faculties, our wits. We're less able to handle ourselves. Okay, we get to a point where maybe we don't know what we're choosing, or there's parts of our night where we don't remember. That was drunkenness in that way. So just because we might have a buzz, maybe we shouldn't drive, that doesn't necessarily mean we're drunk. Now, drunkenness is a sin. Why is it a sin? Well, first of all, God made you with a brain, with intelligence, and He gave you a free will. And when you're in a state of drunkenness, you've thrown away your ability to use your intellect and your free will. And so that way you've harmed the image and likeness of God that you were created in. In this way, drunkenness could be considered a sin against the fifth commandment. You shall not kill. Because when you're drunk, when you deliberately get yourself drunk, or accidentally, carelessly end up that way, you have harmed the image and likeness of God in which you were made. Another thing to think about with drunkenness is what you open yourself up to. Now, when you're drunk, you open yourself up to thoughts and ideas and movements that when you were sober, you wouldn't be open to. Think about when you might see someone, whether you've observed drunkenness or maybe you yourself have been drunk before. Think about how you're open up to ideas of anger or greed or lust or gluttony that when you were sober would not be appealing to you. So there's a spiritual harm that occurs in that regard as well with drunkenness. It's not just a matter of a physical harm, but a spiritual harm. And I don't know about you, but opening myself up to evil spirits is something I don't want to do. Well, if you're not 21, enjoy a good soda. If you are 21, enjoy a beer or something else. But enjoy it well. Drink well. And know that God gave that drink of wine to warm men's hearts, it says in the scriptures.